A federal judge just blocked the deportation of over 1,000 Somali immigrants hours before the legal status was set to expire, which would be tomorrow, Tuesday, March 17th. TSA workers are now showing up to airports across America right now and are not getting paid because Congress cannot agree on a budget. And the reason they cannot agree? ICE. The U.S. Secretary of Defense just said 3 words on live television that legal experts, including a retired military officers, are calling it a war crime. And gas just hit about $3.72 a gallon, the biggest monthly jump since Hurricane Katrina. Stay with me till the end because every single segment is going to affect our daily life directly, whether you know it or not. Now, if you watch our last few episodes pertaining to immigration, you already know the TPS, which is the temporary protected status, the legal protection that lets people from dangerous countries live and work here legally while their home country is too unstable to return to. And you know that Somalia TPS was set to end Tuesday, March 17th. Well, it just got blocked. Friday evening, U.S. District Judge Allison D. Burrow in Massachusetts issued an administrative stay temporarily blocking the Trump administration's from ending TPS for Somali immigrants. The termination was set to take effect at 11:59 p.m. Tuesday night. The clock has now been paused. The judge said the consequences of either granting or denying this motion would be weighty. Her ruling stated directly over 1,000 people will face a merit of grave risk, including detentions and deportation, physical violence if removed to Somalia, and forced separations from family members. Now, this lawsuit was brought by the African Communities Together, the Partnership for the Advancement of New Americans, and 4 individual Somali community members, all of them currently working as educators here in the United States. They're represented by Muslim advocates in NAACPI Legal Defense Fund. The administration argued that the condition in Somalia has improved enough that the TPS is no longer needed. The lawsuit has pushed back out that directly, arguing the administration is ending TPS is not based on objective country condition, but based on unconstitutional bias against non-white immigrants. They pointed to public statements Trump has made about Somalis specifically. Now, while the stay is in effect, the termination is, in the judge's word, null, void, and of no legal effect. Everyone currently holding Somali TPS or with a pending TPS application retains full rights, including work authorizations and protections against deportation. Now, here's the part that I need for you to hold on to. This is temporary. The stay buys time, but it does not end the legal fight. Both sides now have to file briefs. A full hearing will follow, and this case could drag on for months, keeping over thousands of Somali families in a state of uncertainty. So my question for you is, if the judge herself sees deporting these people could mean physical violence and death, what does it say about a policy that was 24 hours away from doing exactly that? Now, this next segment is going to matter to every single person who is traveling or traveled through an airport recently since the war has begun, or is planning to travel, or who cares about what happens to working people who are just trying to do their jobs. The Department of Homeland Security has partially shut down for over 30 days now. And right now, TSA workers across this country are working without a paycheck. And let me tell you why that is in plain English or plain language for us to understand. DHS funding lapsed on February 14th after Congress could not reach an agreement. The standoff centers on ICE and CBP, Immigration and Customs Enforcement, and Customs and Borders Protection. Democrats are saying they're willing to fund every other part of DHS, TSA, the Coast Guard, FEMA, cybersecurity, but not ICE and CBP, without meaningful reforms attached. Now, Republicans say that it has to be funded together or nothing gets funded at all. Democrats have tried 6 separate times to pass a bill that would fund TSA, FEMA, and the Coast Guard and other DHS functions while negotiations on ICE continues. 6 times Republicans blocked every single one of them. The result, now about 100,000 DHS workers miss their first full paycheck. That is about $1 billion in unpaid wages every single month. TSA agents, the people checking your bags, our bags, and keeping the airport safe, are showing up to work without pay. And about 300 TSA agents already quit. Call-outs have doubled. Airport lines are getting ridiculous and getting longer and longer if you have been following things on social media. Now, ICE and CBP are actually still funded because last year's One Big Beautiful Bill Act gave them a large separate cash infusion. So immigration enforcement has continued throughout the shutdown. What is not funded is everything else. The agencies that protect travelers, respond to disasters and defend the cybersecurity infrastructure. Democrats are saying we're not going to write blank checks for agencies operating without accountability. Republicans say you cannot pick and choose which part of national security gets funded. Meanwhile, TSA Union President Aaron Barker said at Atlanta International Airport, requiring employees to work without pay is unconstitutional. The financial consequences of this shutdown, damaged credit, missed payments, losing housing, will remain long after the government reopens, which is so true. So TSA employees did not cause the shutdown, yet they are bearing the burden of congressional inaction. So these are just people working, going to get their jobs every day, screening our bags, keeping airports safe, and they're not getting paid because Congress cannot agree on an immediate policy. Let's ask ourselves this. If both sides agree that TSA workers should get paid, why has nobody figured out how to pay them out yet? This next segment, there's a lot of legal language around this story, and I want to make sure it lands clearly for everyone or every people listening. On Friday the 13th, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth stood at Pentagon press briefing and said about the war with Iran the following.
Nate, they're confused and we know it. Our response, we will keep pressing. We will keep pushing, keep advancing, no quarter, no mercy for our enemies.
Most people heard that and thought, tough talk, aggressive rhetoric, move on. Legal experts heard something very different. And let me explain what no quarter actually means, because this is not just a figure of speech. In military and legal terms, no quarter means do not accept surrender. Kill enemy combatants even if they're trying to give up. Take no prisoners. Execute soldiers who lay down their arms. And that, under both U.S. law and international law, is a war crime. The prohibition, against no quarter goes back over 160 years to the U.S. Civil War Labor Code of 1863, which Abraham Lincoln issued to govern how armies must behave during war. The Hague Convention of 1899 and the Geneva Convention built on that foundation. The U.S. has prosecuted foreign military leaders, including senior German officials after World War II, specifically for giving no quarter orders. So the U.S. gets to say this now? Under the Hague Convention and other international treaties, it is explicitly illegal to threaten no quarter will be given. The U.S. domestic law, the 1996 War Crime Act, directly cites the ban on no quarter in its definition of war crime. So Senator Mark Kelly of Arizona, retired U.S. Navy combat veteran, responded immediately. He said, no quarter isn't some wannabe tough guy line. It means something. In order to give no quarter would mean to take no prisoners and kill them instead. That would violate the law of armed conflict. It would be illegal order. It would also put American service members at a greater risk. So a retired U.S. Army lieutenant colonel and judge advocate published a hypothetical legal memo, the kind that Hegseth should be receiving from Pentagon own general counsel, warning that his statement may expose him to criminal liability under federal law and expose any service member who follows such an order to prosecute under the Uniform Code of Military Justice. This has been reported in NPR News. Now, you might be wondering, how is it going to put American soldiers at greater risk? Because international law works both ways. If the U.S. signals it will not accept surrenders, enemy forces have no reason to ever lay down their weapons. They fight to the death. Every engagement becomes more dangerous for our troops here. Now, the Pentagon did not immediately respond to requests for comment. Hegseth has not retracted the statement. So here's what I want to say with you again. 3 words from the Secretary of Defense spoken out in official press briefing have legal experts, retired military officers, and members of Congress calling it a war crime. When does accountability for language like that ever begin? With all of that going on in domestically, gas prices is about $3.72 a gallon nationally as of today, and nearly 80 cents from just 1 month ago. Diesel is just under $6 a gallon, $1.34 higher than last month. That is about 26.9 monthly jump in gas prices, in the largest single month increase since Hurricane Katrina. Oil spiked to 120 barrel about a week into the war. Before the war, oil was about $70, in the 70s at least. The Strait of Hormuz which normally carries about 20% of the world oils, remains at a near standstill. Trump has been telling reporters oil prices will drop like a rock as soon as the war is over. His own energy secretary said on ABC this week, and I want to make sure that you hear this clearly, there are no guarantees in wars at all. Now, here's the diplomatic picture, and it's not good. Trump has been reaching out to allies, asking them to send warships to reopen the Hormuz. So far, allies have remained non-committal. Trump complained publicly that some countries, including the UK, were unenthusiastic about helping despite receiving US security support for decades. EU foreign ministers voted against expanding their naval operations in the Strait of Hormuz. German Chancellor said the war has nothing to do with NATO and it's not a NATO's war. Iran's foreign minister said the strait is only close to the US, Israel, and their allies. From our perspective, it is still open, he said. And there is now a significant question hanging over the entire negotiation picture, because Trump said he is unclear whether Iran's supreme leader, Khamenei, is dead or not, making it difficult to know who the US could even negotiate with. Hegseth claimed Khamenei was likely disfigured. And Iran's top diplomat told CBS News that he sees no reason to negotiate right now. Meanwhile, in Lebanon, leaders of Canada, France, Germany, Italy, and UK issued a joint statement saying a large-scale Israeli ground operation in Lebanon must be averted, warning it could have a devastating humanitarian crisis. We are about day 17. Gas is $3.72. Allies saying no. Iran's leaders possibly dead or alive, nobody knows, and no clear path to negotiate on the table. And also, no one has any confirmed confirmation if Netanyahu is actually alive or dead. There's been circulations and news from the Iranians social media's accounts that he has been killed, and the IDF and Israel is posting videos, and a lot of people are saying it's AI. So there's a lot of misinformation, there's a lot of things circulating. We'll keep you posted, we'll keep you updated as these stories are coming along. That is the world we're living in right now. Share this video, subscribe to Voices with Anisa Qalb. Until next time, I leave you in the care of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Fi amanillah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.